Yeah, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another video. It's your boy Courtney, man. We back in here. We ready to get right into this one. This is Thunderbolts, New Avengers, deleted Kang the Conqueror post credit scene and alternate ending. Let's get right into it.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, as customary for Marvel, and after the opening weekend, the actors in the film get to go back on the press junket along with the creatives and talk in a spoiler type of way about things that didn't make the film, things they were considering, things they tried but didn't like, ways that the film changed in the ending, and the post-credit scenes, where it was revealed today by Eric Pearson, the guy who co-wrote Thunderbolts, that they were at least at one point considering Kang the Conqueror as a part of the post-credit scene for the Thunderbolts. We're going to talk about exactly what he said, what this actually means, and, well, because the timeline here is a little interesting. When they would have been writing this and creating it, surely they would have already been on to Doctor Doom, and doesn't mean that we might actually see Kang in the future if they were still considering him for this post-credit scene. We're breaking it all down, the newly revealed alternate post-credit scenes for the Thunderbolts, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel. That's all we do. If you're into that kind of thing, hit the sub button, leave a comment down below. It's the easiest and best way to support us at the channel, plus it'll keep you up to date with all the Avengers stuff coming and enter you for the giveaways. If you want, stick around at the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so there's a ton of articles floating around, one from The Hollywood Reporter, another that we're going to reference during today's video from ING, in interviews with Eric Pearson. Now, if you're not familiar with that name, you should be, because he's known internally at Marvel Studios as basically the closer to come in and finish scripts or add a couple of scenes, basically add the finishing touches and really the nuance when people have written a majority of the script already. Again, they refer to him in-house as the closer, and he's written on a ton of Marvel movies. He helped co-write the Thunderbolts, and in an interview with ING, he revealed that they were going to go a couple of different ways for the post-credit scene. One idea was to reveal that Baron Zemo, whom we haven't seen since the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, was actually behind all of this and pulling the strings. Now, while that would have been an ode to comic accuracy, because in the comics Baron Zemo founds the very first Thunderbolts team, again, we haven't seen him in quite some time, and that would have felt like a little anticlimactic, I guess pun totally intended, as we're headed into Avengers Doomsday, if there wasn't some sort of setup for the future. So I'm glad that they didn't go in that direction. The other thing he revealed is that at least at one point they were considering a post-credit scene that involved Kang the Conqueror. Now, in order to get the context of this right, we need to understand when he would have been working on this project. Thunderbolts filmed primarily in 2024 and was released this year in 2025, which means by 2023 they were working on the script or had been working on it for a while. Now, I'm not sure exactly when Eric Pearson was brought in to finish the Thunderbolts script. That's not actually public information, but we do know that they would have been in active development, and during 2023, right as Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was coming out, right as, of course, Jonathan Majors was entering his legal troubles, and as we've recently found out, right as they were entering the summer of 2023, when Robert Downey Jr. would have approached Marvel Studios, said that he wanted to play Doom, signed on and said he was only going to do it if the Russos agreed. It took another year until summer of 2024 for them to do just that and agree to direct these two Avengers films. So when they were considering a Kang the Conqueror post-credit scene, the timing of that is super important, because it tells us that at least at some rate, there may have been a chance that they had already decided to pivot into Doctor Doom as the big bad for the multiverse saga and serve him up as the Secret Wars villain that he's always been, but they weren't shutting the door completely on the Kang the Conqueror storyline, especially if they would have had him involved in the post-credit scene. Now, if the timing of this is ever revealed, the other way it could have gone was that as Marvel Studios were reportedly already questioning Kang the Conqueror as the right villain for the multiverse saga and worried about the Quantumania box office, unfairly blaming it on Kang's villain instead of, say, the over-editing and the mess that some of that film became in post, that could have been the exact same time that they were writing and considering a Kang the Conqueror post-credit scene. But as things changed, they of course pivoted out of that, and we found a lot that was different about the Thunderbolts early on. John Walker was actually going to be the very first villain, as they revealed in the film, and instead they pivoted into Sentry. And in fact, Eric Pearson actually said in the very first version of the script that he read Sentry wasn't even involved. He was brought on after that, and presumably by the second iteration of the draft, they had changed John Walker from being a villain that, by the way, was going to somehow like Hulk out over super soldier serum at the end. Sounds a lot like Captain America Brave New World, and just like not a great idea. I'm so glad they went in a different direction, because it really would have been at Valentina's directive where it would have been a time bomb situation where the whole time we would have just been waiting for John Walker to absolutely freak out and become a monster. The Thunderbolts would have had to take him down. It just would have been a completely different film without Sentry. And then he went on to talk about other changes they made, like Taskmaster actually sticking around, iterations of the film, how it ended different. He was asked about the Avengers thing now being the new Avengers, and what he said about that specifically is Kevin Feige's 4D chess for the future and how he's setting up Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, which he didn't know anything about. In fact, in a separate part of the interview, he went on to say that he's basically on speed dial for them right now, and that he is planning on meeting up with them for the two Avengers films and scripting, but that hasn't happened yet. He was also asked about Blade because it was reported he was one of the writers who was said to have come in and written on that, and he said he couldn't talk about that situation, but then also added that he had seen the Fantastic Four without the additional photography and reshoots, but also couldn't talk about it, as well as not talk about the post-credit scene that's currently in the Thunderbolts. I asked him about that, and he just said, hey, I didn't shoot it, I can't talk about it. Tight-lipped about all the Avengers stuff, but very candid about the changes to Thunderbolts, which of course, as we said, included at least at one point Kang the Conqueror. Now, if you keep up with my channel and you know what the rumors have said, some industry insiders with proven track records, guys who have been around for 4 or 5 years, say that Kang the Conqueror might not be done in the MCU. But if you remember, it was TMZ, of all editorial outlets, that was quick to come out and debunk that, saying that their industry sources at Marvel said that Kevin Feige has no plans whatsoever of revisiting Kang the Conqueror. Still, as we talk about it in context of this storyline, you can't deny that he was a major part of Phase 4 and Phase 5, the multiverse saga, specifically with his involvement in the TVA, which of course they're not going to just abandon that altogether. We just saw the TVA in Deadpool and Wolverine. So at some rate, he's still there in the story, in the canon. And I'm just really curious what, if anything, Marvel's going to do in explaining how his whole storyline led to us now having Doctor Doom, and what happened with the Kangs, as the last time we heard of it, it looked like the TVA was all hunting them down at the end of Loki Season 2, and they may just leave it at that, but there's got to be a bigger explainer for where Doom has been all this time. You guys let me know all your thoughts, though, down below. Do you just prefer Thunderbolts the way it is? I know they could have done some other cool stuff, but really, I think that film is one of the best from Marvel in a long time. I wouldn't tinker with it or fool with it at all. But you guys let me know all your thoughts down below quickly. Let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. All right, we are still giving away PlayStation 5s and a ton of other giveaways here at the channel.
Nobody want no goddamn PlayStation 5. If you ain't got no PlayStation 5, save your money, my boy. PS6 about to be out in a few years. Anyways,